all to another episode of Hot Girl Reads freaking 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Now, I know it has been a few days. I know I'm not in my usual attire for this, or I'm taking it back to the OG attire for this video today. And the reason why is because I couldn't be bothered wearing my work outfit anymore. I was so tired and I just wanted to get out those clothes. And yeah. But I still wanted to keep my makeup or whatever. So yeah, it's been like 5 days since I have done this. And let me give you guys a little update why. I literally sold 2 cars, guys, back to back. So by the time I got home, I was so tired. And then my family came and visited me this weekend. So yeah, I was a pretty busy gal. And I just did not feel like vlogging. And I did not feel like being on live because I was spending time with the fam. But guys, look how this hair is growing out. Like, tell me she is not eating. She is not eating. I don't know. Like, everybody keeps asking me if I want to still stay blonde because, you know, if you know me, you know, like, I switch my hair color up often. Or I used to, but I've been blonde for almost a year now. And it's like the big question on, am I going to still be a blondie or am I going to go a different color? But the roots are growing out. I really do not feel like doing my roots anytime soon. So I'm really trying to let my hair grow out. So I want to let my hair grow pretty long. Like right now it's like this. And I want it to get like right here. So, I mean, is it that big of a difference? It's going to probably take like, maybe I say like 4 more months if I don't do anything drastic again. Like if I just let it grow out. Hello, Romina. Hi, welcome to the live. But yeah, so that's a little update that I have for you guys as of right now. I haven't really been vlogging like that. I've just been living my life, but videos are coming soon. Also, let me know if you watched yesterday's video. What did you think of that? What did you think? Let's get into it. So everybody, go ahead and pull out your books. 48 Laws of Power. Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm confused once we get to the pancake. What does that mean? What are you saying? Okay. So guys, where are we? We are at the 48 Laws of Power. Law 18. Do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. Mr. Greene, what do you have to say? Hi, Ahmed. Welcome to the live. Hello. Oh, Romina, you speak Spanish. Hola. Hola, ¿cómo estás? I'm actually learning Spanish every day. The Spanish word that I learned today, and then I'll get into it. The Spanish word that I learned today, refrescante. Let me know if you know what that means. Refrescante. Okay? Judgment. The world is dangerous and enemies are everywhere. Everyone has to protect themselves. A fortress seems the safest, but isolation exposes you to more dangers than it protects you from. It cuts you off from valuable information and it makes you conspicuous and an easy target. Better to circulate among people, find allies and mingle. You are shielded from your enemies by the crowd. Refrescante? Yes, refrescante. Refrescante? I think I'm saying it right? Let me see. Refrescante. Am I saying it right? Okay. Transgression of the law. Are you guys ready? Shi Shu Huyang Ti, the first emperor of China, 20 221 to 2010 BC, was the mightiest man of this day. His emperor was vaster and more. His empire. Whoa, guys. I'm trying to read too fast. His empire was vaster and more powerful than that of Alexander the Great. He had conquered all of the kingdoms surrounding his own kingdom and Xi'an and unified them into one massive realm called China. But in the last years of his life, few, if anyone, saw him. Refresco. Oh yeah, like I'm trying to say like refreshing. The emperors lived in the most magnificent palace built to that date in the capital of Xinjiang. The palace had 207 pavilions, and all of these were connected by secret underground passageways, allowing the emperor to move through the palace without anyone seeing him. He slept in a different room every night, and anyone who inadvertently laid eyes on him was instantly beheaded. Only a handful of men knew his whereabouts, and if they revealed it to anyone, they too were put to death. The first emperor had grown so terrified of human contact that when he had to leave the palace, he traveled incognito, disguising himself carefully. On one such trip through the provinces, he suddenly died. Oh my God. His body was borne back to the capital in the emperor's carriage, with a cart packed with salted fish trailing behind it to cover up the smell of a rotting corpse. No one was to know of his death. He died alone, far from his wives, his family, his friends, and his courtiers, accompanied only by a minister and a handful of eunuchs. Isn't that like such a sad way to die? Like, okay, think about it. You're old. You're getting old. At that point, when you're old, I'm pretty sure, okay, I'm not 100% sure because like, I'm not like a super old person, but okay, picture this. You're like 85. Doctor told you you don't got much time left. You know, you're being positive, you're in the hospital, and like all you want at that point is to be around your loved ones, to be around your family, to be around the people that you like and that you love and that you care about. And he died alone because he was so paranoid. Okay, interpretation. Shi Huang Ti started off as the king of Xi'an, a fearless warrior of unbridled ambition. Writers of the time described him as a man with a whippish nose, eyes like slits, and the voice of a jackal and the heart of a tiger or wolf. He could be merciful sometimes, but more often he swallowed men up without a scruple. It was through trickery and violence that he conquered the provinces surrounding his own and created China, forging a single nation and culture out of many. He broke up the feudal system, and to keep an eye on the many members of the royal families that were scattered across the realms of various kingdoms, he moved 120,000 of them to the capital, where he housed the most important courtiers in the vast palace of Xinjiang. He consolidated the many walls of the borders and built them into the Great Wall of China. He standardized the country's laws its written language, even the size of its cartwheels. As part of the process of unification, however, the first emperor outlawed the writings and teachings of Confucius, the philosopher whose ideas on the moral life had already become virtually a religion in the Chinese culture. On Shi Huang's Ti's order, thousands of books relating to Confucius were burned, and anyone who quoted Confucius was to be beheaded. This made many enemies for the emperor, and he grew constantly afraid, even paranoid. The executions mounted. A contemporary, the writer Han Vichu noted that Xi'an had been victorious for 4 generations, yet has lived in constant terror and apprehension of destruction. As the emperor withdrew deeper and deeper into the palace to protect himself, he slowly lost control of the realm. Eunuchs and ministers enacted political policies without his approval or even his knowledge. They also plotted against him. By the end, he was emperor in name only and was so isolated that barely anyone knew he had died. He had probably been poisoned by the same scheming ministers who encouraged his isolation. That is what isolation brings. Retreat into a fortress and you lose contact with the sources of your power. You lose your ear for what is happening around you, as well as a sense of proportion. Instead of being safer, you cut yourself off from any kind of knowledge on which your life depends. Never enclose yourself so far from the streets that you cannot hear what is happening around you, including the plots against you. Dun, dun, dun! Oh my God, that was so good. Okay, guys, let's listen, well, you guys are listening, but I'm gonna read. Let's read this little red law. Also, my stomach is growling, so I'm gonna have to hurry up because I'm hungry. Okay. I have to read like this though because you already know the lighting in here is crazy. The Mask of the Red Death. The Red Death had long devastated the country. No pestilence had ever been so fatal or so hideous. Blood was its avatar and its seal. The redness and horror of blood. There was sharp pains and sudden dizziness, and then profuse bleeding at the pores with the dissolution. And the whole seizure, progress, and termination of the disease were the incidents of half an hour. But the Prince Prospero was happy and dauntless and sagacious. When his dominions were half depopulated, he summoned to his presence 1,000 hale and light-hearted friends from among the knights and dames of his court. And with these retired to the deep seclusion of one of his castellated abbeys. This was an extensive and magnificent structure, the creation of the prince's own eccentric yet august taste. A strong and lofty wall girdled it in. This wall had gates of iron. The courtiers, having entered, brought furnaces and massy hammers and welded the bolts. They resolved to leave means neither of ingress nor egress to the sudden impulses of despair or of frenzy from within. The abbey was amply provisioned with such precautions, the courtiers might bid defiance to the contagion. The external world could take care of itself. In the meantime, it was the folly to grieve or to think. The prince had provided all the appliances to pleasure. These were Are you okay? Sorry, that was my dog. Buffoons. There were improvisatory. There were ballet dancers. There was the beauty. There was wine. All these and security were within. Without was the Red Death. It was towards the close of the 5th or 6th month of his seclusion, and while the pestilence raged most furiously abroad, that the Prince Prospero entertained his 1,000 friends at a masked ball of the most unusual magnificence. It was a voluptuous scene, that masquerade and the revel. Oh my God, guys. I am like fighting for my life today. Hold on. I lost my place. and the revel went wearingly on until at length there commenced the sounding of midnight upon the clock. And thus too it happened, perhaps, that before the last echoes of the last chime had utterly sunk into silence, there were many individuals in the crowd who had found leisure to become aware of the presence of the masked figure, which had arrested the attention of no single individual before. The figure was tall and gaunt, and shrouded from head to foot in the habiliments of the grave. The mask which concealed the visage, was made so nearly to resemble the countenance of the stiffened corpse that the closest scrutiny must have had difficulty in detecting the cheat, and yet all this might have been endured, if not approved, by the mad revelers around. But the mummer had gone so far as to assume that the type of Red Death, his vesture was dabbled in blood, and his broad brow with all features of the face was sprinkled with the scarlet horror. Hi, Giselle, or not Giselle's, not Giselle's. Hi, welcome to the live. A throng of revelers at once threw themselves into the black apartment, and seizing the mummer, whose tall figure stood erect and motionless within the shadow of the ebony clock, gasped in unutterable horror at finding the grave cerements and corpse-like mask, which they handled with so violent a rudeness, untenanted by any tangible form, and now was acknowledged the presence of the Red Death. He had come like a thief in the night, and one by one dropped the revelers in the blood-bedewed halls of their revel, and died each in the despairing posture of his fall. And the life of the ebony clock went out with that of the last of the gay, and the flames of the tripods expired, and darkness and decay and the Red Death held illimitable dominion over all. The Mask of the Red Death, Edgar Allan Poe, 1809 to 1849. Oh my God, that is so crazy. Like, I did a whole project on Edgar Allan Poe when I was younger, and it was so in depth, and it was so, like, I would give myself an A+. Hi, Jaylala. Hi, Jaylala. Welcome to the live. How are you? Okay, now let's go ahead and get into the observance of the law and what the freak Mr. Greene himself is trying to say, okay? Louis XIV had the Palace of Versailles built for him in his court in the 1660s, and it was like no other royal palace in the world. As in a beehive, everything revolved around the royal person. He lived surrounded by the nobility, who were allotted apartments nestled around his. Their closeness to him depended on their rank. The king's bedroom occupied the literal center of the palace and was the focus of everyone's attention. Every morning, the king was greeted in his room by a ritual known as the lever. At 8 a.m., the first king's valet, who slept at the foot of the royal bed, would awaken his majesty. Then pages would open the door and admit those who had function in the lever. The order of their entry was precise. First came the king's illegitimate sons and grandchildren, then the princess and princesses of the blood, and then his physician and surgeon. Then were followed by the grand officers of the wardrobe and the king's officials, reader, and those in charge of entertaining the king. Next would arrive the various government officials. Hi, Yasir. Hello. How are you? Welcome to the live. Okay, where was I? Next would arrive the various government officials in ascending order of rank. Last but not least came those attending the lever by special invitation. By the end of the ceremony, the room would be packed with well over 100 royal attendants and visitors. Hi, how are you doing today? How was your day? The day was organized so that all the palace's energy was directed at and passed through the king. Louis was constantly attended by courtiers and officials, all asking for his advice and judgment. To all their questions, he usually replied, "I shall see." That's how I should respond to things now. I shall see. As Saint Simon noted, if he turned to someone and asked him a question, made an insignificant remark, and the eyes of all present were turned on this person, it was a distinction that was talked of and increased prestige. There was no possibility of privacy in the palace, not even for the king. Every room communicated with another, and every hallway led to a larger room where groups of nobles gathered constantly. I'm so thirsty. Okay, let me finish this and then I'll drink some water. Everyone's actions were interdependent, and nothing and no one passed unnoticed. The king was not only saw to it that the high nobility was present at his court, wrote Saint Simon, he demanded that the same of minor nobility. At his lever in coucher, at his meals in his gardens of Versailles, he always looked about him, noticing everything. He was offended if the most distinguished nobles did not live permanently at court, and those who showed themselves never or hardly ever incurred his full displeasure. If one of these desired something, the king would say proudly, "I do not know him," and then the judgment was irrevocable. I'm reading the 48 Laws of Power for everybody to listen or read along. And you love my hair. Thank you. I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm going to keep it blonde. I was just saying this at the beginning of the live. I don't know if I'm going to stay blonde for much longer. We will see. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But thank you, Yasir. You're so nice. Where are you from? Al Kushi, that was my foot. Okay. I really need some lip gloss, but can you tell I'm wearing like red lipstick today? I don't know. Oh. You're Arab? Wow. What part? Okay. Interpretation. Louis XIV came to power at the end of a terrible civil war. The Fronde. The Fronde? You prefer the purple hair. Oh, I've never personally did purple hair. I've never done purple. I've done black, red, blonde, brown, like ginger, and like a copper, and then I did like henna also. So I've done a lot to my hair. So like maybe one day I'll just go back to like natural black, but as of right now I'm just growing it out. Okay, a principal instigator of the war. Okay, let me sit up straight. It's all about posture, right? Okay. A principal instigator of the war had been nobility, which deeply resented the growing power of the throne and yearned for the days of feudalism, when the lords ruled their own fiefdoms and the kings had little authority over them. The nobles had lost the civil war, but they remained at a fractious, resentful lot. Excuse me. The construction of Versailles then was far more the decadent whim of the luxury-loving king. It served a crucial function. The king could keep an eye and an ear on everyone and everything around him. The once proud nobility was reduced to squabbling over the right to help the king put on his robes in the morning. Oh my goodness, that's so funny. There was no possibility here that the privacy, no possibility of isolation. Louis XIV very eagerly grasped the truth that for a king to isolate himself is gravely dangerous. In his absence, conspiracies will spring up like mushrooms after rain. Animosities will crystallize into factions, and rebellion will break out before he has the time to react. To combat this, sociability, and openness must not only be encouraged, they must be formally organized and channeled. These conditions at Versailles lasted for Louis's entire reign, some 50 years of relative peace and tranquility, though it all not a pin dropped without Louis hearing it. Solitude is a dangerous reason without being favorable to virtue. Remember that solidarity mortal is certainly luxurious, probably superstitious, and possibly mad. Dr. Samuel Johnson, 1709 to 1784. You're exquisite. Oh my goodness. Yes, dear. That is the nicest thing I've heard all day. Thank you so much. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and get to the keys of power. All right. Machiavelli makes the argument. Okay, come on. No. Come on this side. Ow. Everybody say hi to Kushni. Say hi. Say hi. Hi. Say hi, Kushni. Hi. Okay. Off. Ow. I'm like wearing shorts. Oh, Yasir says hi. Oh, she's happy. She's happy. Yes, this is my baby. She's 2. Okay, Kushni, let me finish reading. I'll be with you in a second. Ow. Okay, listen. Oh, Kushni, sit. Kushni, sit. She doesn't listen. Kushni, sit. Listen. Good girl. Sorry about that. Okay. Keys to power. I know. She's so happy. And like the meaning of her name, it means like it makes her happy to make other people happy. And I just love that. Like, that's what really made me choose this name, Kushni. Right, baby? Right? Okay. Machiavelli makes an argument that in a strictly military sense, a fortress is invariably a mistake. It becomes a symbol of power isolation and is an easy target for its builder's enemies. Designed to defend you, fortresses actually cut you off from the help and cut into your flexibility. They may appear impregnable, but once you retire to one, everyone knows where you are. And a siege does not have to succeed to turn your fortress into a prison. With their small and confined spaces, fortresses are also extremely vulnerable to the plague and contagious diseases. Ooh, interesting. In a strategic sense, the isolation of a fortress provides no protection and actually creates more problems than it solves. This is actually... Because humans are social creatures by nature, power depends on social interaction and circulation. To make yourself powerful, you must place yourself at the center of things, as Louis XIV did at Versailles. All activity should revolve around you, and you should be aware of everything happening on the street, and of anyone who might be hatching plots against you. The danger for most people comes from when they feel threatened. In such times, they tend to retreat in close ranks. To find security in kind of a fortress, in doing so, however, they come to rely for information on the smaller and smaller circle, and lose perspective on events around them. They lose maneuverability, and become easy targets. Their isolation makes them paranoid. As in warfare and most games of strategy, isolation often precedes defeat and death. In moments of uncertainty and danger, you need to fight this desire to turn inward. Instead, make yourself more accessible. Seek out old allies and make new ones. Force yourself into more and more different circles. This has been the trick of powerful people for centuries. The Roman statesman Cicero was born in the lower nobility and had a little chance to power unless he managed to make a place for himself among the aristocrats who controlled the city. He succeeded brilliantly, identifying everyone with influence and figuring out how they were connected to one another. He mingled everywhere, knew everyone, and had such a vast network that the enemy here could easily be counterbalanced by an ally there. This AC is so cold, it is not even funny. And it's only at 72 and I'm freezing. The French statesman Talleyrand played the game the same way. Although he came from one of the oldest aristocratic families in France, he made a point of always staying in touch with what was happening in the streets of Paris, allowing him to foresee trends and troubles. He even got a certain pleasure of mingling with shady criminal types who supplied him with valuable information. Every time there was a crisis, a transition of power, the end of Directory, the fall of Napoleon, the abdication of Louis the 18th, he was able to survive and even thrive because he never closed himself up in a small circle, but always forged connections with the new order. What is it? Work smarter, not harder. You are so right. I will be right back. Let me get my blanket really quickly. Got my favorite blanket. If you know, you know. It's so, this is like my favorite blanket. It's a Snuggie. Okay, ready? Where was I? Yeah, so like I was saying, think smarter, not harder. Is it day where you're at? No, it's actually night. It's like 8:30 at night right now, so I actually just have to cook dinner and obviously take off this lipstick and do my things that I gotta do and go. So yeah, and then go to bed. And look, I bought this ring for myself and it's turquoise, and like the New Mexican in me is loving it, because if you've ever been to New Mexico, then you know turquoise. Thank you. And I bought 2 other books. I bought The Art of War, and I bought Just Like Home. And honestly, I've been trying to read The Art of War, or I've been planning to read it since like 2016 or 2017. It's so crazy. So I'm finally gonna read it. I don't know if I'm gonna read it for you guys. Oh, I didn't know that actually, Yasir. I did not know you haven't been there before. Well, if you ever get the chance to go to New Mexico, then my suggestions would be to go to White Sands. It's like a national park. It is so beautiful. So if you don't know, New Mexico is actually the desert, and so it wasn't always like that though. It was like water. So White Sands is basically like the beach that got dried up. Good job, Kushni. Good job. Good job. Okay, so let me finish reading. The law pertains. Okay. The law pertains to kings and queens, and those of the highest power. The moment you lose contact with your people, seeking security in isolation, rebellion is brewing. No problem. Never imagine yourself so elevated that you can afford to cut yourself off from even the lowest echelons. By retreating to a fortress, you make yourself an easy target for your plotting subjects. For your plotting subjects, who view your isolation as an insult and a reason for rebellion. Since humans are social creatures, it follows the social arts that make us pleasant to be around can be practiced only by the constant exposure and circulation. The more you are in contact with others, the more graceful and at ease you become. Isolation, on the other hand, engenders in awkwardness. In your gestures, and leads to further isolation as people start avoiding you. In 1545, Duke Cosimo I de' Medici decided that to ensure the immortality of his name, he would commission frescoes, the main chapel of the Church of San Lorenzo in Florence. He had many great painters to choose from, and in the end he picked Jacopo de... I'm sorry, Kushner. She's doing her job. Sorry. But yeah, it's so true. Like, okay. Good girl, good girl, good girl, good girl, good girl, good girl, good girl. Okay. Getting on in the years, Pontormo wanted to make these frescoes his chef d'oeuvre and his legacy. His first decision was to close the chapel off with walls, partitions, and blinds. He wanted no one to witness. She's barking at the door. She usually will hear stuff going on outside, and she just be in her protection mode. His first decision was to close off the chapel with walls, partitions, and blinds. He wanted no one to witness the creation of his masterpiece or to steal his ideas. He would outdo Michelangelo himself. When the young men broke into the chapel out of curiosity, Jacopo sealed it off even further. Pontormo filled the chapel ceilings with biblical scenes, the creation, Adam and Eve, Noah's Ark, and on and on. At the top of the middle wall, he painted Christ in his majesty, raising the dead on Judgment Day. The artist worked on the chapel for 11 years, rarely leaving it since the developed a phobia for human contact and was afraid his ideas would be stolen. Pontormo died before completing the frescoes, and none of them had survived. But the great Renaissance writer Vasari, a friend of Pontormo's who saw the frescoes shortly after the artist's death, left a description of what they looked like. There was a total lack of proportion, scenes bumped against the scenes, figure in one story being juxtaposed with those in another. In maddening numbers, Pontormo had become obsessed with the detail, but had lost any sense of overall composition. Vasari left off the description of the frescoes by writing that if he continued, I think I would go mad and become entangled in this painting, just as I believed that in the 11 years of the time Jacopo spent on it, he entangled himself and anyone else who saw it. Instead of crowning Pontormo's career, the work became his undoing. These frescoes were visual equivalents in the effect of isolation. Do I like painting? I actually love painting. Painting is just, it's one of my, I don't know, I just love creating things with my hands and art. And I honestly, I worked on this painting and I never finished it, and I need to just finish the details. I was actually making a YouTube video with this as well, but I literally never finished it, so I don't know if I will ever finish it. But basically it's like I wanted to do a henna butterfly, so that was like my thank you. I need to like finish the words, and I just want to, I don't know, I think I want to add something around it. But I have a poem that's going with this, so when I finish this painting, like the last part of me doing the painting, I'm going to be reading the poem to go with it. So like whenever I finish that. And then I have this other painting that I'm not going to show, but it's so beautiful. I haven't finished it. I literally haven't even touched it from the last time I did it, but it is so gorgeous. It's a phoenix, and I just have left it like it's not finished yet, but I'm working on my paintings. I'm working on them. Well, I actually haven't, but I need to. Okay, back to what I was doing. So, where was I at? The frescoes were visual equivalents of the effects of isolation on the human mind, a loss of proportion, and an obsession with detail combined with the intangibility to see the larger picture, a kind of extravagant ugliness that no longer communicates. Clearly, isolation is as deadly for the creative arts as for the social arts. Shakespeare is the most famous writer in history because as a dramatist for the popular stage, he opened himself up to the masses, making his work accessible to people no matter what their education and taste. Artists who hold themselves up in the fortress lose a sense of proportion, and their work communicating only to their small circle. Such art remains cornered and powerless. Finally, since power is a human creation, it is inevitably increased by contact with other people. Instead of falling into the fortress mentality, view the world in the following manner. It is like the vast Versailles, with every room communicating with another. You need to be permeable, able to flow in and out of different circles and mix with different types. That kind of mobility and social contact will protect you from plotters who will be unable to keep secrets from you, and from your enemies who will be unable to isolate you from your allies. Always on the move, you mix and mingle in the rooms of the palace, never sitting or settling in one place. No hunter can fix his arm on such a swift-moving creature. Okay, guys. Imagine this. Close your eyes unless you're driving or handling heavy machinery. Close your eyes. Imagine this, okay? The fortress, high upon the hill, the citadel becomes a symbol of all that is hateful in power and authority. The citizens of the town betray you to the first enemy that comes. Cut off from communication and intelligence, the citadel falls with ease. True. All right, authority. A good and wise prince, desirous of maintaining the character and to avoid giving the opportunity to his sons to become oppressive, will never build fortresses so that they may place their reliance upon the good will of their subjects and not upon the strength of citadels. Niccolo Machiavelli, 1469 to 1527. That seems scary. Yeah, being completely isolated. Most definitely. Alright guys, now let's get into the reversal, and then I will tell you my thoughts about this chapter. It is hardly ever right and propitious to choose isolation. Without keeping an ear on what is happening in the streets, you will be unable to protect yourself. About the only thing that constant human contact cannot facilitate is thought. The weight of society's pressure to conform and the lack of distance from the other people can make it impossible to think clearly about what is going on around you. As a temporary recourse, then, isolation can help you gain perspective. Many a serious thinker has been produced in prisons, where we have nothing to do but think. Machiavelli could write The Prince only once he found himself in exile and isolated on the farm from the political intrigues of Florence. The danger is, however, that this kind of isolation will sire all kinds of strange and perverted ideas. You may gain perspective on the larger picture, but lose a sense of your own smallness and limitations. Also, the more isolated you are, the harder it is to break out of your isolation when you choose to. It sinks so deep into its quicksand without your noticing. If you need time to think, then choose isolation only as a last resort, and only in small doses. Be careful to keep your way back into society open. Wow, guys. Well, that was the end. Oh my God. Oops. That was the end of that. That was the end of the chapter. That was the end of the law. I definitely clumsy. Yeah, I'm a really clumsy person. I need to stop claiming that, but it's been a life story of mine. Like, it's just really funny. But okay, like what I was saying, like being isolated honestly can really lead to like depression. It can lead to like sometimes like when you're starting, I'm someone that isolates myself. Like I'm someone that like often like will push people away and like just want to be by myself, but it's not really that. No, ma'am. It is not. Cushy, what are you doing? This is hurting my leg. It is not the healthiest thing. It is not the healthiest thing. It is not to be. Cushy, get off of me. Get off. Ow! 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 She's heavy. No. Stop. Let me finish what I'm saying. It's not the most healthiest thing. And from what the Kushni, stop. Cut it out. And from what the author is saying, like when you isolate yourself, you're really just putting yourself more at risk. Like you're really just putting a bigger target on your back. Like you may be doing it for personal reasons and like to like get back to yourself, but you're really just like, you're not making the situation much better. Sometimes it is good to like isolate for a little bit to like recharge and regroup and blah blah blah. But she wants your love. Yeah, I know she does. But I'm about to give her my love, but I'm gonna get off of live once, like I'll give her my love once I get her off live. But yeah, so that's what I think about the chapter. If you guys want to see me on live again, subscribe. Go ahead and watch my last video that I posted on Sunday, which was getting ready for work for the week. It was from like September or something like that. And thank you so much. Stay tuned for the next video. Bye.